All right, this is Hedgehog once again. Aaron has asked me back to do a reading of a poem that is called Body Paragraph 2. And Aaron informs me that this poem is an example of writing that, we'll take a look at it right here. Here it is. You can see the squiggles and wiggles and difficulty spacing and a few spelling errors, just a few, perhaps, and we may or may not talk about the repetitive style of the conjunctions as a grammatical strategy, perhaps to avoid the spelling of more difficult words like through and other types of conjunctions and words that assist us in combining one sentence with another sentence. Those other types of words, perhaps avoided, favoring but in this case, and perhaps and elsewhere, but in this case, but, which is that's my dog in the background. That's private. And then you hear it's actually not my dog, it's a contracting fee through Theory's dog, but I'm looking after him today. Aaron asked me to look after the dogs and read this poem. And I was saying this poem called Body Paragraph 2, which we're looking at right now, off and on, been doing images of me talking and looking at that paragraph. He suggested that I read and interpret this poem in the style of Michael McClure, and that's what I'm going to do. So the first line here is first line of the poem. It reads: Mount Vesuvius destroyed Pompeii, but Huna Tunga Huna Ha'apai. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce that word, but I think that is something like that. Destroyed the island of Tonga. I'll read that once again. Mount Vesuvius destroyed Pompeii, but Huna Tunga Hunga Ha'apai Hapa Hunga Ha'apai. Something like, let me try that again. Mount Vesuvius destroyed Pompeii, but Huna Tunga Huna Ha'apai. I think that's pretty close. Destroyed the island of Tonga. That reminds me, thinking about destruction that way, in that manner, and particularly, destruction, coupled with that conjugatory word, but, right, reminds me of a poem by William Blake called Eternity, which reads something like, let me see if I can recall how it goes. He who binds himself to a joy does the winged life destroy. But he who kisses the joy as it flies lives in eternity's sunrise. Now when I think about it, maybe the but there is just implied, and the original poem reads, I'm trying to remember. I'm thinking it goes, he who binds to himself a joy does the winged life destroy. He who kisses the joy as it flies lives in eternity's sunrise. But, there's definitely a but implied, just like in that poem by that fascist guy, what's his name, Ezra Pound or something like that. And he says, the apparition of these faces in the crowd, petals on a wet black bough, right? And he's staring at the wet and hungry masses, and he's imagining them as petals on this Japanese cherry tree or something like that in the rain. Oh yeah, I was gonna say what's implied in that poem is the simile, right? It's like it's basically a simile, and much is made out of this poem, but the word like is implied. It's not there. It's not present. No, but it's implied by the structure and the grammatical structure of the line. It's like, okay, in this poem, he who binds to himself a joy does the winged life destroy. Implied, but he who kisses the joy as it flies lives in eternity's sunrise. And I guess I was thinking about that poem by William Blake called Eternity, because there's this thing about destruction going on here, and then there's the bud, right? So Mount Vesuvius destroyed Pompeii, but Hunatanga Hunga Ha'apai, that's a hard word to say. Hunatanga Hunga Ha'apai destroyed the island of Tonga. Tonga is a much easier word to say than Hunatanga Hunga Ha'apai. Also, Hunga is much easier way to spell this word. This is the name of a volcano, by the way, in case you weren't catching that. Much easier. Hunga is a much easier way to spell this word Hunatanga Hunga Ha'apai, or however you said it, than Hunga apostrophe APAI, or whatever it is, like that, right? So you can see how one would abbreviate that if it had difficulty in spelling. Right, so that's the first line. All right, okay, so moving on, second line. The damage of Hunga Tonga Hunga Ha'apai is so much that some of it is unknown. It's unknown, no one knows. But Mount Vesuvius is one of the most destructive volcanoes of all time. And there's more about destruction there, but there's also a little bit about, this idea of knowing versus unknowing, or not knowing, not being sure, or not having the right information, or knowledge. And Blake had a lot to say about knowing. For some reason, I always keep coming back to Blake and it's because I'm reading this. I'm reading and interpreting this poem in the manner of the Love Lion. Did I mention I was doing that? The Love Lion, also sometimes known as the beat poet Michael McClure. He's passed away from us now, but there was a lot of references to lions, and I think we've done some readings of them lion poems. The Narashimas and all that. We talked about Narashi's coming, little baby Michael McClure, and looking in on him in his cradle, and the relationship to that poem with cradle songs and all that. We're not going to get into all that here. No. But but what I was going to say was this reference to the unknown. What can we know? What can we know? What can't we know? In this poem called The Lamb, William Blake, he said, "Little lamb, who made thee? Dost thou know who made thee?" And we could say the same thing about Hunatanga Hunga Ha'apai. Can we? We say, Hunatanga Huna Ha'apai. Dost thou know who made thee? Who made thee? Dost thou know who made thee? Huapa Tanga Apai. And we could say the same thing about Mount Vesuvius. Mount Vesuvius, who made thee? Dost thou know who made thee? And probably neither Hunatanga Huna Ha'apai nor Mount Vesuvius would answer, because they're volcanoes. I mean, if they answered, it would be loud and kind of scary, like them lions walking around little baby Michael McClure's cradle when he was a little baby in the cradle. And that's one of the things that's from Songs of Innocence and Songs of Innocence and Experience. And then another thing that William Blake had to say about knowing and not knowing stuff was, it comes from these proverbs of hell that Michael McClure, little baby Michael McClure, and a little grown-up Michael McClure, Little Love Line, was very fond of quoting about William Blake, reading Doris poems and stuff like that, and probably other things too. Proverbs from Hell comes from this manuscript called The Marriage of Heaven and Hell. And William Blake said, you never know, that's the word know again, you never know what is enough unless you know what is more than enough. It kind of relates to that excess thing that 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 beatnik poet, beast language poet, Michael Hoover talking about Love Line, and when he was reading that do 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 do, that the just the lyrical version of that tune by Jim Morrison and the Doors, where he didn't read it as beast language. He just read the lyrics, interpreted the lyrics, read and interpreted the lyrics, like the way we're doing here, back and forth between the images of text and me reading it. Then there's this line that goes, let's see, this is, from body paragraph 2, the next line goes, Huna tanga huna ha'apa'ai is not, the not refers to, is not one of the most destructive volcanoes of all time. But it is the largest volcanic eruption ever seen from space. And back in Blake's time, they didn't have satellites and missiles, and there was no Elon Musk or Apollo missions, things like that. They knew about the moon. They had known about the moon for some time, but no moon landing as of yet. And so he didn't talk about spacecraft and satellites and stuff like that very often. But he did paint a picture called what's it called? The Sea of Space and Time. And the Sea of Space and Time is really interesting because I think we talked about this before. Somebody talked about it. It was either I talked about it or somebody else talked about it. Maybe it was someone else, but it might have been a contract in V3 Theta was talking about this. But William Blake, he was very familiar. He was a very active reader. He's a very active reader, like a kind of amateur intellectual, self-taught man kind of that type of thing, and he read this treatise by Porphyry, the Platonist, on it's a reading of that this guy did of the cave of the nymphs in Homer in Homer's Odyssey, and we're gonna take a look at the picture here, and I'm gonna let's see, why am I talking about this again? Oh yeah, because of the word space. Yeah, and I was thinking about what William Blake's idea of space was, and obviously this idea of space is part of the picture, because the title of the picture is the Sea of Space and Time, right? And so it's in some ways it's William Blake's own philosophical treatise. I've noticed this Apple emoji app is having a hard time keeping track of my mouth moving around, meaning we seem to have some glitches here, but hopefully that won't bother my listeners and viewers. Anyway, in this sea of space and time picture, there's you can see Odysseus. He's standing there. He's got his hands out. He's wearing a little red tunic or something like that, and he's got his hands out over the waves. And maybe he's thinking about how long it's going to take him to get home. And then there's these nymphs dancing around, and up in the sky there's a bunch of really interesting things going on, and this is all what I remember. I mean, maybe it's not quite like that. I think Athena, who helps him, she's helping him get home, and she's out there in the waves. She's dancing around in the waves. She's on some rocks or something like that. And then there's some caves and grottos and trees, and there's some people roaming around on the bottom of the picture, and some people roaming around on the top of the picture. There's horses, and there's a sky full of fire. Like Blake left that sky full of fire, didn't he? Oh, that was amazing. And the space of this picture is very interesting because it's like really multiple spaces, like kind of collaged together in all these different kind of ways. There's like little staircase on the right, and there's someone holding a bucket of water, and then I noticed the Apple emoji program is really having a hard time keeping track of me here. So I think I'm gonna cut out right there. But that's basically my reading of the poem, in that style, in that love line style. I'm running out of time, and like I said, this emoji program is having a hard time keeping track of my mouth moving around. So maybe we'll end it there on that last idea of what the word space reminded me of, and thinking about William Blake.